But now let's look at these other reports here. Elisha Encinias saw Joe Stare in the cafeteria prior to the shooting. And that matches, of course, what Leah Murphy said. So we're getting a lot of corroborated reports here. So the page listed here is 1984. Let's see if that's true. Actually, this is testimony regarding what Elisha Encinias said. Megan Kellogg, rather. Megan also related that her friend Elisha Encinias told her she, Elisha, saw Joe Stare in the cafeteria prior to the shooting. Megan stated she did not see Joe Stare. She also heard someone yelling, "I'm going to kill you all," as she was hiding. Okay, so apparently she never saw the suspects. She knows them from seeing them in school halls during passing from class to class. She felt the explosion vibrations on the library wall, side in between gunshots. She heard the fire alarm before she heard any gunshots. Interesting. How curious is that? Did someone pull the fire alarm in an attempt to get as many people out of the building as possible before the shooting? Curious. So Megan is relating that her friend, Elisha Encinias, told her she saw Joe Stare prior to the shooting. So let's examine that. So 2943 is listed here. Her testimonies from 2938 to 2947. And so 2943 here. Elisha was informed that someone thought she had stated seeing Joe Stare in the cafeteria prior to the shooting at Columbine High School. Elisha stated she didn't see redacted, but heard someone during the shooting state, "Redacted, where are you? I got 3 of them." Supposedly that's Joe Stare, so I don't know if this is supposed to be she heard Joe, "Where are you? I got 3 of them." The shooter then laughed. Elisha stated she heard this from the green room where she was hiding with others, and the sound of the voice came from the common area going toward the library from the cafeteria. She stated she did not recognize the voice. Curious, so someone's screaming, "Joe, I got 3 of them," and then laughing. "Joe, where are you? I got 3 of them." She also heard the gunman saying, "You're all going to die, you're all going to die." Then she heard laughter. So she did see somebody. She also said Dorian Salazar was timing the whole thing. It went from 11:25 a.m. until rescued by SWAT at 2:45 or 3 p.m. So there were kids using either wristwatches or whatever watches that were specifically looking at the clock. So that's also interesting to note. Elisha was asked to describe the gunman. She stated he was a white male, 6'2", dark brown hair, shoulder length, with a black hat on. The bill of the hat was in the front, which is curious. That is curious as well, because everybody wears their hats backwards. He was wearing a black trench coat and had on dark clothing, holding a gun, black, with 2 hands and firing it rapidly. She stated she saw the gunman near the double doors from the west side before the doors into the library. Elisha reiterated that she did not see redacted. She stated she did not tell anyone she saw redacted. Elisha stated she knows redacted, but doesn't know redacted, a different redacted. These are different lengths name. So I don't know if that's her denying that she saw Joe Stare, and others said she did see Joe Stare. Elisha stated she recalled telling students in the greenhouse that the shooters were from the Trenchcoat Mafia. So maybe someone thought she meant Joe Stare, but apparently she heard people say, "Joe, where are you? I got 3 of them." So in the follow-up interview here, November 3rd, re-interviewed to clarify these observations. So in the April 20, so she first interviewed April 20th. She reported seeing 3 people with guns coming into the cafeteria. Encinias described the 2 gunmen as, one, a white male with long brown hair and a trench coat. He is the one who started shooting at her and the teacher using what she described as a long gun. And number 2, whom she was unable to describe, and he was observed doing nothing. Encinias stated suspect number 2 did not have a trench coat on. Curious. Okay. She was eating her lunch approximately 11:20, cafeteria. She stated student came into the cafeteria yelling, "Someone just got shot. Someone just shot someone." She stated everyone started screaming and she saw 3 people with guns coming into the cafeteria. Miss Encinias recognized one of the gunmen had a long black coat and she did not recognize him. She stated the other 2 shooters were a current student and a student that had graduated last year. She did not know their names. Interesting. Joe Stair happened to graduate last year. This is an interesting report. She stated the gunmen were walking around the cafeteria and the stairway. She heard one of them say, "Redacted, where are you? I got 3 of them." Supposedly that is Joe. She stated they were very calm. All right, so let's go back to her follow-up interview here. The purpose of the interview was to clarify, or it's very curious. Okay, so she was first interviewed April 20th. She reported seeing 3 people with guns coming into the cafeteria. Then the 26th, she reported 2 gunmen coming into the west side doors as she and a teacher now known to be Mr. Sanders were running down the hallway where the library is located. So what changed between the 20th and the 26th? It seems like a lot of people reported multiple shooters, and then were they simply corrected, in quotations, by investigators, and they didn't question the correction because they figured the police investigators that looked at the security footage, they knew better than them even though they were there, and they just assumed they were wrong. And they never truly objectively thought about it. Because when people in authority tell innocent teenagers things, the innocent teenagers, most of the time, they're just going to acquiesce. Not that they necessarily believe there's a conspiracy, they just believe that the people in authority wouldn't be mistaken, so then they must be mistaken. And coincidence theorists, of course, use that as evidence. So as I began my interview with Elisha, I asked her if she still believed she saw 3 people with guns coming into the cafeteria. Elisha told me no, that she never saw anyone coming into the cafeteria with guns. So not 3 people, but 0 people. I then showed her the report by Agent Means and pointed out the part where it states she saw 3 people with guns. Elisha told me that part of the report is not accurate, and she doesn't recall making that statement. You know what else I don't think has been done? All of these interviews and re-interviews, they should have played audio. I mean, I know it's traumatic and it's terrible, but to get accurate information, they should have played audio from different types of guns. Full auto, semi-auto, the specific guns known to have been used by Eric and Klebold, and other types of guns, just to see if what they said, if they noticed the patterns, the sounds, the rate of fire was different from the official narrative. It would just be curious. Elisha told me she is still confused about who the gunman was. Okay, so we're now on November 3rd, 1999 for the re-interview. So she's still confused November 3rd. What does that mean? Does that mean she knows she saw someone different than what's being reported? Because why else would she be confused? I asked Elisha if she knew Dylan Klebold. She stated no. I asked her if she had seen Klebold at school. Elisha told me she doesn't recall ever seeing Klebold at school. So she recalls seeing this guy that graduated last year, but not Klebold. Curious. I then showed Elisha a series of 4 photographs taken from the video camera in the cafeteria. After viewing that show, Dylan Klebold, after viewing the photos, Elisha agreed that the person she saw shooting was Dylan Klebold. Elisha still had some concern because she thought the person she saw had long black hair. So she's still not bending to the will of the re-education of the witnesses. I explained to Elisha that when she saw Dylan, he still had his trench coat on. Additionally, Klebold was wearing a black baseball cap backwards. I mean, but what about all these witnesses saying it was forwards? I further explained that the black bill of the baseball cap and the black collar of the trench coat could have certainly given the appearance of black hair, especially given the fact that Elisha looked at the gunman for only a few seconds before turning around to run in the opposite direction. Elisha agreed with the explanation. The interview was concluded with Elisha and her mother having no concerns in reference to an additional gunman. Of course they don't. They were told not to. Now, again, that doesn't mean the investigator's in on any conspiracy. The investigator could have been completely honest here. I'm not saying they weren't. I'm saying that her intuition clearly stated here she still had some concern because she thought the person she saw had long black hair. Somebody with short hair sticking out the sides of their hat does not look like they have long hair running down their back. So that doesn't make any sense, and it's curious that it's still stated here that Elisha still had some concern. She didn't buy the narrative immediately. And then, obviously, after being constantly told what she saw, I mean, what choice does she have other than to bend to the will, especially if the investigator is making it known through either body language or subtext that they're not leaving until she acquiesces. And they've done this with all these other witnesses. I mean, it's weird. But we'll actually go over it because not all of them bent to the will here. Not all of them were successfully gaslit, and some of them might just have went along to get along. They don't want trouble. This was the most traumatic thing ever. They basically just want it to go away at this point. What are they going to do? Go against FBI and investigators? I mean, it's weird. They're not going to want to cause trouble. But a few stuck to their original story, and we'll be getting into them later. A lot of damning evidence. And it's also curious that Elisha here said one of them had graduated last year, so clearly she had recognized Stair. Stair has the longer hair, and Stair did graduate last year.